Hey guys, Jay here. So today we're taking a first look, initial impression, and unboxing of a speaker that many of you have been very curious about. And it's a speaker I heard this year at Expona and thought it sounded one of the best of the entire show. And that says a lot because the Expona Hi-Fi show is one of the biggest shows in the world, and with many brands and many products from all over the world. Now, I got the boxes in yesterday and it took everything in me, a lot of self-restraint, to not just unbox them and hear them right away and actually do this in a video. So I'm done waiting. Yes! So I finally have them set up and I am loving the way they look. And I assembled a stand which was super easy. I loved how well thought out the stands were. There's like cable management built into it, and overall the stands are just really nice looking. It also seems like you can fill it with sand inside because the cable management compartment is separate from the inner hollow section of the stands. I also appreciate the fact that the binding post, and this is a small thing but it goes a long way. It's clearly labeled. The red and the black is clearly labeled to where you can even see it in the dark. And a lot of the loudspeakers that come in here don't have it clearly labeled, or it's very small, or they're trying to be different or whatever. And here you don't have that. It's very clearly labeled and I appreciate that. And you might see also the passive radiator on the back of this loudspeaker because this is a passive radiator design. And that means that the cabinet is going to be smaller, but this speaker apparently goes down to 30 Hertz, no problem. So I'm so excited to try them and listen to them. I'm dying right now. But just to give you a quick look at the drivers, look at the woofer here. So this is a two-way loudspeaker and the woofer is super interesting looking. I mean, it's in person, it has this texture that almost resembles like an alligator skin. It's super interesting. I don't think I've seen a driver like this. It's very unique. And also the tweeter is a planar ribbon tweeter, 2.5 inch planar ribbon tweeter. And you can kind of see even the waveguide that kind of folds in. So this is a properly designed loudspeaker by Chris. He's a really good speaker designer. And I'm super excited to hear this creation right now because what I heard at the show was just like out of the world, blew my mind. So I'm so intrigued if this is going to sound good in my room. As you can see, I have it set up with the Platimons right now, but I'm going to remove the Platimons. I'm going to compare in its optimal positions back and forth and just enjoy the rest of the night. And I'll have my first impressions in the morning for you guys. So that was a blast. I've been listening to music for about 3 hours now. Just been a long day. It's not even that late. It's midnight. It's midnight. But yeah, I'm gonna go to bed and I promise I'll tell you my impressions. I have some very interesting things I found out during this listening session. I'll share that with you first thing in the morning. So good morning. So I had a blast last night playing music until midnight. I started playing music around 9 p.m. and so from 9 to 10 p.m. I did crank up the volume a little bit, but past that point, I did crank the volume down because I have neighbors and I want to be respectful. So while I was playing around 75 dB, so low to medium volume, and that's when I become relevant. I found some very interesting things when I did that. But before I go on, I want to make sure that I preface by saying that the MonAcoustic Platimons that I'm comparing the FR5s to right now, again, this is the first impression, and also keep in mind that the MonAcoustic Platimon is my reference speaker at $6,000 to $8,000 price point, and actually my reference at that price range is the Orendo 1723 THX tower speakers. Now, those are different beasts from the PS Audio FR5 because those are tower speakers and this is a bookshelf speaker, and I don't have a reference bookshelf at that price range, so I was kind of forced to compare it to the Platimons, which are my reference at $6,000 to $8,000. So there's definitely a price gap there. So here are my findings with the PS Audio FR5 and the MonAcoustic Platimon comparison. So overall, I found that at low volumes, especially vocals, even rock and stuff like that, sounded overall more transparent, more pinpoint imaging, and more soundstage on the MonAcoustic Platimon. And that's no surprise, there's a price gap there. But also keep in mind that the system I have going on right now is from the Platimon video. So this setup is catered towards making the sound of the Platimons really, really good. So it's my reference setup for that. So the PS Audio FR5 being a warmer sounding speaker may not benefit from the system, so I will have to do some more matching and comparison to make sure that the FR5s perform at its best, and I'll report that in my review. So keep that in mind that this system is more catered towards the MonAcoustic Platimon, and that may be why that I found that the Platimons were just overall more transparent and more to my liking. Now, I did find that the PS Audio FR5 in the current setup really sounded better when I cranked up the music, especially in the morning. I found that the louder volumes, really the bass dig low, and it's even lower than the MonAcoustic Platimon in the sense of the bass. There's just more in amount, there's more fuller, it's more lusher. So if you're someone that likes an inviting sound, very, very easy to listen to, very, very smooth on the top end, the FR5 I think is a really good choice. It's very musical. At no point do I feel like, I feel shrill or brightness whatsoever on this loudspeaker. It is very, very full sounding, meaty sounding, textured in the mid-range. So overall, it sounded really, really good. Now, like I said, it's not as transparent or better at imaging or sound staging than the Platimons in the current setup. And of course, these are just initial impressions at this point. And most of the tracks that I played, I did prefer the Platimons, like the vocal tracks here. I made notes on the Into Dust, Maisie Star. I love this track, and it sounded more sweet, more imaging, more focused on the Platimons. Next was the One of These Nights, 2013 remaster, and it sounded really good on both on this track, but I did find that the MonAcoustic Platimon, again, sounded more transparent. It was very evident that when I switched, the Platimons just dropped back in soundstage, and then overall, it was a more involving experience, and again, transparent, crisp, and sweet. Come Join the Murder. Now, this track I put on because I thought maybe the PS Audio FR5s will be a better choice for this track, specifically because I find some of the tracks, parts on this track to be a little bit sibilant. Now, I liked both of them, to be honest, with this track. However, I did find that the FR5s were more inviting, easier to listen to, while the Platimons were more transparent, and overall I did prefer the Platimons in terms of transparency and the overall soundstage and vocals and sweetness and the gut and all that stuff. Now, what I did find interesting is that when I played the Flight of the Cosmic Hippo by Bela Fleck, this track really digs low, especially in that mid-bass region. And I played this track this morning actually, and I cranked it up, and the FR5s gave me more fuller, deeper bass than even the Platimons, and I feel like the PS Audio FR5 excels at higher volumes. When you cranked it up, bass just comes to life and sounds more fuller, gutty, and really extends low, like impressively low. And so it almost feels like a floor standard type of deal, even lower than I remember Bucard audio speakers to sound in that bass region. Is very robust, very full, very textured, and especially in that mid-range as well, it sounded really crisp. I just loved the overall presentation, especially at higher volumes. Now, aside from that, something that I noticed right away while volume matching, because I volume matched to listen, obviously, so that I don't bias one towards the other, depending on volume I'm playing back. But when I was doing that, I realized that the Platimons were way more sensitive than the FR5s. The FR5s needs more juice, needs more power, so I had to crank it up a little bit more than the Platimons. So Platimons were easier to drive, more sensitive, and I noticed that when I was playing back in different volumes. And probably more important, keep in mind that the system I have going on, again, is catered towards the Platimons. So stuff like the Denafriss Apollo that I'm using right now, which is like, again, I've explained that it's a more warmer, darker kind of sound, can be not such a good match with speakers like the PS Audio FR5 that is already a warm and luscious kind of sound. But again, these are just initial impressions, and I just wanted to figure out if the FR5s lean towards the warm side, neutral, or, the cold side, more brighter, leaner kind of sound. And for sure, the FR5s are a warmer, inviting kind of sound, and I'm super excited to try different combinations, different amplifiers, different components to make sure the FR5's sound is best in my room, and then do a more fair comparison with the Platimons, and also see if it's worth being my reference point alongside the Orendo 1723 THX tower speakers. And so make sure to subscribe, because I'm gonna also have a measurements and specs and all the good stuff in that review video of the FR5. So make sure you don't miss that by subscribing. And also, please click the like button. It helps my channel out greatly and it doesn't cost you anything. And please share and do all the YouTube stuff. And I'll see you guys on my next one. Thanks for joining me today and take care.